Okay, so we are live. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, on the Skype and on YouTube. Today we are going to we're going to continue our Sravanam Saturdays, and this is, after a long time, we are doing it on Skype. Yeah, if anybody is able to, please turn on the video so Sugandha Mataji doesn't feel alone. And yeah, today's verses are from 1st Canto 18th chapter, text 41 to 45. So, yeah, Sugandha Mataji, you can take it from here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you. We'll start with Jai Radha Mata. Little bit. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandan Bhaj Janarandan Yamuna Tira Vanchari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Natbar Shri Radhe Jaya Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Let's start with the prayers. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Dishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram. So thank you everyone for joining. So we are on this section where Parikshit Maharaj, he has gone hunting in the forest. So the title of this chapter is Maharaj Parikshit Cursed by the Brahmana Boy. So in the forest, Parikshit Maharaj, he becomes very hungry and thirsty, and he goes to Shamik Rishi's ashram, and he sees Shamik Rishi is in samadhi. He asks him for water, but Parikshit Maharaj, he is disappointed to get a cold response from Shamik Rishi, and he feels himself neglected and insulted, and so he puts a dead snake around Shamik Rishi's shoulder. Now the son of Shamik Rishi was Shringi. He was very powerful, like his father, and when he heard that the king what he has done to his father, he felt very offended. So he spoke very poisonous words for Parikshit Maharaj. He was speaking like Parikshit Maharaj is like a crow or a watchdog who performs sins against his master, and his master are these Brahmanas. And watchdog should be kept outside the door and should not be allowed inside the house, should not be allowed to eat with the master. And since Krishna has left, all these upstarts have appeared, and I will take the matter in my own hand, and I will punish these sort of kings. And he was playing this Shringi was playing with other children, and he told the other children, "Let me show you my power. Just see my power." And he pronounced a curse against Parikshit Maharaj that on the 7th day from today, a snake bird will come and will bite Maharaj Parikshit, who is the most wretched of this dynasty, because he has broken the laws of etiquette by insulting my father. So he spoke these poisonous words, he spoke this curse, and then Shringi, he went home and he started to cry. And before Shamik Rishi, and Shamik Rishi, he opened his eyes and he saw the dead snake on him. He threw the dead snake aside and he asked his child, "What has happened?" So Shringi, he explained the whole thing. So now we are on verse 41. So we will start. नैषम्य शप्तमतद् अर्हं नरेन्द्रं स ब्राह्मणो नात्मजम् अभ्यनन्दत् अहो बताम्हो महद् अद्य ते कृतम् अल्पीयसि द्रोह अरुतमोद्धृतः. The father heard from his son that the king had been cursed, although he should never have been condemned, for he was the best amongst all human beings. The rishi did not congratulate his son, but on the contrary, he began to repent, saying, "Alas, what a great sinful act was performed by my son. He has awarded heavy punishment for an insignificant offense." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The king is the best of all human beings. He is the representative of God, and he is never to be condemned for any of his actions. In other words, the king can do no wrong. The king may order hanging of a culprit son of a Brahmana, but he does not become sinful for killing a Brahmana. Even if there is something wrong with the king, he is never to be condemned. A medical practitioner may kill a patient by mistaken treatment, but such a killer is never condemned to death. So what to speak of a good and pious king like Maharaj Parikshit? In the Vedic way of life, the king is trained to become a Rajarshi or a great saint, although he is ruling as king. It is the king only by whose good government the citizens can live peacefully and without any fear. The Rajarshis would manage their kingdom so nicely and piously that their subjects would respect them as if they were the Lord. That is the instruction of the Vedas. The king is called Narendra, or the best amongst the human beings. How then could a king like Maharaj Parikshit be condemned by an inexperienced, puffed up son of a Brahmana, even though he had attained the powers of a qualified Brahmana? Since Shamik Rishi was an experienced, good Brahmana, he did not approve of the actions of his condemned son. He began to lament for all that his son has done. The king was beyond the jurisdiction of curses as a general rule, and what to speak of a good king like Maharaj Parikshit? The offense of the king was most insignificant, and his being condemned to death was certainly a very great sin for Shringi. Therefore, Rishi Shamik regretted the whole incident. So we can see here the difference in response of Shringi compared to that of the Shamik Rishi, right? Shringi, he was inexperienced, but Shamik Rishi, he regarded the offense of Parikshit Maharaj as very insignificant, and he understood that the curse that Shringi gave to kill Parikshit Maharaj was very heavy punishment for such an insignificant offense that he has done. So Shamik Rishi, he was lamenting the mistake done by his son, and being experienced Brahmana, he could see the implications of this curse. I will read the translations for the rest of the verses for today, and then we can discuss further. So here Shamik Rishi is continuing lamenting. He's saying, "Oh my boy, your intelligence is immature. And therefore you have no knowledge that the king, who is the best among human beings, is as good as a personality of Godhead. He is never to be placed on an equal footing with common men. The citizens of the state live in prosperity, being protected by his unsurpassable prowess. My dear boy, the Lord who carries the wheel of a chariot is represented by the monarchical regime. And when this regime is abolished, the whole world becomes filled with thieves, who then at once vanquish the unprotected subjects like scattered lambs. Due to the termination of the monarchical regimes and the plundering of the people's wealth by rogues and thieves, there will be great social disruptions. People will be killed and injured, and animals and women will be stolen, and for all these sins we shall be responsible. At that time, the people in general will fall systematically from the path of progressive civilization in respect to the qualitative engagements of the castes and orders of society and Vedic injunctions. Thus, they will be more attracted to economic development for sense gratification, and as a result, there will be an unwanted population on the level of dogs and monkeys. So we can see that, one mistake made by an inexperienced child, Shringi, it is causing such a degradation in the society, because he cursed Parikshit Maharaj to die, and he's a Raja Rishi. He's taking care of the whole kingdom and making sure everything is going on nicely, and all the people in the kingdom are following the orders of the king. They respect him, and so now that the king will be dead, all these people who rogues and thieves will rise in the kingdom, and people will be killed, animals and women will be stolen, and unwanted population would be there to the level of dogs and hogs. So this represents the degradation of society, because a leader is absent, Rajarshi is absent. And we see also that Shamik Rishi is taking responsibility for the whole thing. Like he said in this verse, right? For all these sins, we shall be responsible. So we can learn from this that we have to take responsibility for our actions, as well as the actions done by others who are under our guidance. So Shamik Rishi is taking responsibility of what Shringi has done. Like father is responsible for the mistakes done by the child. Similarly, Guru is responsible for the mistakes done by his disciples. That's why one time Prabhupada was saying that, I am suffering so much because my disciples are not following the principles properly. So we have a responsibility that we need to follow the principles properly, follow, the regulative principles, and avoiding all kind of sins, so as not to let our parents or our spiritual master suffer. Because our whatever piety we perform, that goes on along to our elders, our parents, our guru, and whatever sins we performed, also they are implicated by that. So we have a greater responsibility. But of course, we know that this whole pastime is arranged by the will of the Lord. We have heard previously, Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport that Bhagavatam was to appear. So this situation of frustration was created for Parikshit Maharaj to be cursed, and so that Parikshit Maharaj would leave his home and his kingdom, and Shukdev Goswami will come and recite Bhagavatam. Similarly to the situation where Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Arjuna was put into ignorance, so that Bhagavad Gita is spoken, and it is all meant for us. Bhagavatam is meant for us, and Bhagavad Gita is meant for us, because Arjuna and Parikshit Maharaj, they are all pure devotees. All of this is an arrangement from the Lord. So there was not a real offense done by Parikshit Maharaj, as Prabhupada is saying. Also, as we read in the purport of verse 41, that if a king does something wrong, king is never condemned. Similarly, if a doctor does something wrong, mistakenly he kills a patient during a treatment, then also a doctor is not implicated. But although we see that in US, a doctor, if he commits a mistake by negligence, he can be sued also. But we heard that class from Ujjwal Neta in the temple, that example of Sachinandan Maharaj when he was at the operation table, and the doctors when they were operating on Maharaj. Maharaj was under anesthesia, but these doctors, they were talking amongst themselves. So Maharaj could hear everything that the doctors were talking, although he was under anesthesia. But somehow his soul came outside his body, and he was seeing the whole situation, and he saw how the doctors, they were conversing about something related to golf, and this doctor mistakenly he hit his knife to Maharaj, and blood started coming out, and everybody was was wanting to stop the blood and all. But Maharaj, he was seeing all of this happening, and his soul also went to the temple and saw that there were devotees that were praying for him. But when he came back into consciousness, and the doctors and all, they were they approached Maharaj, and Maharaj said that to the doctor that I know everything that what happened actually, but you don't worry that I will not sue you, because I'm a monk. I'm a devotee of Krishna. I don't take a grudge from others. I don't do tit for tat. Right, I will not sue you, so don't worry about that. So it was nice. So we see, these are the qualities of a Brahmana. We were discussing in the last class, Shamo Dama Tapa Swacham Shantirarjavam Evacha Jnana Vijnanam Sahitam Brahma Karma Swabhavijam. How a Brahmana, he is very peaceful, he is very Shama, he is very peaceful. Dama, he has sense control. Tapa, he performs austerity. Swacham, he is clean. And Shantir, he is tolerant. Arjavam, he is always telling the truth, like that. So we see, Sachinandan Maharaj, he exhibited this quality of tolerance, or Shama, peacefulness. Same thing we see with the Shamik Rishi over here. He was experienced good Brahmana, and he did not approve of the actions of his son, and he began to lament, hearing what his son has done. So devotee, we were hearing from Amarendra Prabhu yesterday that devotee, he ignores the faults in others. He sees only good qualities in others. There is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Amarendra Prabhu quoted yesterday. Vaishnavera guna grahi na dikhai dosh, kaya mana vakya kare Vaishnava santosh. So a Vaishnav, he accepts the good qualities in other Vaishnavas, and he ignores their faults. And so this Vaishnavas, his heart is engaged, his soul is engaged in just satisfying the Vaishnavas. Kaya mana vakya kare Vaishnava santosh. Just by satisfying the Vaishnavas, this Vaishnavas is pleased. So in the purport to this verse, Prabhupada writes that the qualification of Vaishnava is that he is a doshadarshi. He never sees others' faults. Of course, that what Prabhupada is writing, let me open this verse on the screen. Open this verse on the screen. Vaishnavera guna grahi na dikhai dosh, kaya mana vakya kare Vaishnava santosh. So Prabhupada writes in this purport, it is a qualification of a Vaishnava that he is a doshadarshi. He never sees others' faults. Of course, every human being has both good qualities and faults. Therefore, it is said, Sajjana gunam icchanti dosham icchanti paramaham. Everyone has a combination of faults and glories, but a Vaishnava, a sober man, accepts only a man's glories and not his faults. For flies seek sores, whereas honeybees seek honey. Haridas Pandit never found fault with a Vaishnava, but considered only his good qualities. So a Vaishnava is like a honeybee. Honeybee is always after the honey. But the other people who are finding faults in others, they are like flies. They are hovering over garbage, right? So that's the quality of a Vaishnava. I was remembering this song by Narasi Mehta about the good qualities of a Vaishnava. how Vaishnav is so compassionate in his heart to everyone. He does not see faults in anyone. He only sees good qualities. Because if we focus on the good qualities, then good qualities will come in us. If we focus on the bad qualities, the same bad qualities will come in us. Right? So I'm going to sing this song. वैष्णव जन तन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जानी रे पर दुखे उपकार करे तोए मन अभिमान नानी रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जानी रे सकल लोक मां सहुने वंदे निंदा न करे के नीरे वाच काच मन निष्ठल राखे धन धन जननी तेनी रे समदृष्टि ने तृष्णा त्यागे पर स्त्री जेने मात रे जीव ठाकी असत्य न बोले पर धन नव झले हाथ रे मोह माया व्यापी नहीं जेने दृढ़ वैराग्य जेना मन भरे राम नाम सुताली लागे सकल तीर्थ तेना तन मन रे वन लोभी ने कपट रहित छे काम क्रोध निवार्या रे भने रसियो तेनु दर्शन करता कुल एको तेरे तार्या रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जानी रे. A true Vaishnav, he understands the pain of all. He is compassionate to all and he brings happiness to all and he does not feel pride about anything. The Vaishnav, he does not criticize anyone while humbly worshipping hundreds in the world. The mother of that Vaishnav is indeed great, who keeps his tongue and mind under control. The Vaishnav has equal vision to all and he is not overly ambitious. He looks at others' women as the mother, where no falsehood escapes the tongue and hands do not touch another person's gold. The Vaishnav is not affected by the attraction of illusion and attachment. While having the mentality of an ascetic, the Vaishnav is attracted to the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna. The Vaishnav's body itself is where all pilgrimages are found. Vaishnav, he has conquered all lust and anger and he is devoid of cheating propensity and trickery. The poet Narshi Mehta is saying that seeing such a Vaishnav, 71 generations of his family becomes redeemed. See, such a Vaishnav, if he is born in a family, 71 generations are redeemed. Also, Narsingha Dev told Prahlad Maharaj, because you have been born in this family, your 21 generations are liberated. So, such are the qualities of a Vaishnav. He does not criticize others. He's para dukha dukhi, para sukha sukhi. When he sees others' happiness, he feels happy. When he sees others' distress, he feels distress. He offers respect to everyone. He sees other women as his mother. Like that, he has conquered his senses. Lust, anger, greed is not in him, and he considers others' property, others' gold as something. Is like he doesn't touch other people's gold, other people's property, like that. So regarding this fault-finding attitude, I was hearing a class where a devotee said that, a fifth class person is that, as we discussed, Vaishnavas are like honeybees, while other people who find faults in others are like flies. So fifth class person, he always sees faults in others. A fourth class person, he said, he sees both good and bad, but he does not speak about the good. He does not praise the others for their good qualities, but he finds a lot of taste in speaking bad about others. And that's a fourth class person. A third class person, he sees both good and bad qualities, and he glorifies the good qualities, but he also criticizes the bad qualities. And a second class person is that he sees both good and bad. He neglects the bad in others, and he fans the good qualities in others. He appreciates the good qualities. He praises the devotee for the good qualities. But a first class devotee, he's that he only sees good in others. He doesn't even see bad, right? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that when faults in others misguide and delude you, you should have patience, and you should introspect, and you should find faults in yourself. Know that others cannot harm you unless you harm yourself. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying that seeing faults in others and feeling ourselves offended by others. Here Shringi became offended by what Parikshit Maharaj did to his father. So when we feel offended by others, we are actually harming ourselves, right? Because then we cannot focus our mind on Krishna. Instead, our mind is thinking so much about that person who offended us. Oh, I'll get back to that person. I will do this thing to the person. How could he say this thing to me? Or how could he do this thing to me? Like that, when we feel offended, then we can't think of Krishna. More proud we are, more often we become offended. We get offended. So Shringi, he was proud of being born in a Brahmanical family. He was proud of having the power to curse, right? And he was considering Parikshit Maharaj, who was such an elevated devotee, to be like a dog or watchdog. So he felt deeply insulted by Parikshit Maharaj. So Kunti Maharani says, Janma Aishwarya Shruti Shabir Edaman Madhapuman. So if somebody, is proud of his janam, his high birth, his aishwarya, his wealth, his shruti, his education, or his shri, his beauty, then he becomes intoxicated. He becomes intoxicated by that pride. And when somebody is proud, then, he feels offended by others, and also he offends others. He considers others insignificant, and he considers himself much greater, and so he offends others. And we saw this in the example of Indra also. Indra, he considered himself the greatest demigod, the controller of rains, and so he felt very offended when Brajvasis, they did not perform Indra Puja. For such an act, Indra, he wanted to, for such a small, insignificant thing, Indra wanted to give a massive punishment to the Vrajvasis. He wanted to destroy the whole of Vrindavan. Right? Also, we see in the case of Durvasa Muni, he felt so much offended when Ambarish Maharaj, he drank a little bit of water to break his fast. And Durvasa, he sent a demon to kill Ambarish for drinking a little bit of water. Such a massive punishment for such an insignificant act that he did. Right? So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that if we want to progress in bhakti, and if we want to chant the holy name always, we should string this one verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it around our neck for continuous remembrance. This is the most important verse in our Shastra. Is Trinadapi Sunichena Taro Rivasa Yishruna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. That if we should consider ourselves lower than the blade of grass, and we should be more tolerant than a tree. We should give all respect to others. We should not desire any respect from others. And in that way, we will be able to chant the holy name always. So this tolerance, Gauranga Darshan Prabhu was saying that this tolerance is at 3 levels. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there is, Shitoshana, Shita and Oshana. That is, At the bodily level, we feel heat and cold. We need to tolerate that. And then there is sukha dukha. At the mind level, we feel happiness and distress. And then there is man apaman. At the ego level, we feel honor and dishonor. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, all three are mentioned in this verse, Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahita shitoshna sukha dukeshu tatha manapamanayo. Where Krishna is saying that if one is able to tolerate these 6 urges, this shitoshna, sukha dukha, manapaman, he says that super soul is already reached to one who has conquered his mind. To such a person, happiness, distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor, they are all the same. You can very easily go back home, back to Godhead if you are able to tolerate these urges. So tolerance also means that Krishna is more important to me than my false ego. When we don't allow our false ego to come in between us and Krishna, then we are tolerant. False ego is what? False ego is the sense of I am great. I am an advanced devotee. How can he or she say this to me? I am great. So when we have a big false ego, we will be offended even with small insignificant things. People say to us, we feel disturbed. So tolerance also means to keep small things small, because mind, it has a habit to magnify small things. As Alanka Prabhu was saying, it has a habit of making a mountain out of a molehill. So let's say, you have a very important task to do. Let's say you have a very important meeting to go to in your office, and you have to give a presentation. And you're going to your office, and on the road somebody cuts into your lane, and he comes in front of you driving very fast, and you become angry at him, and you start cursing him, and you and you say, you come out of the car and you start to have a fight with him, right? And with this, and then you with this bad mood, you reach your office, and you missed your important meeting, you messed up everything. So what we see in this incident is that what happened was that a very small thing, somebody cut into your lane, it spoiled a very big thing in your life, right? That important meeting got missed. So same thing, our important goal of life, the reason we are given this human birth is that we have to become a pure devotee. We have to go back home, back to Godhead. We have to perform our sadhana nicely. The small insignificant things that happen in our life, good or bad events, they are insignificant from the point of view of eternity. Our current life is a spot or a dot on an infinite line, but the mind makes those insignificant things very significant. So, and then we miss out on the goal if we focus on these insignificant things and pick up a quarrel with someone, become angry at someone, or like we see in this case, Shringi, he cursed Parikshit Maharaj. So tolerance means to keep small things small and keep your focus on the big thing, the goal of life, in serving Krishna, performing your sadhana nicely in a peaceful manner, going back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada wrote in one letter to Hansaduta, a devotee means that he is able to tolerate all kinds of discomfort and whims of material nature, and he is so much absorbed in serving Krishna that he takes no time to become angry or take offense with others or find out some fault. He's so busy in his service to Krishna. Oh, I have to prepare a lecture, I have to dress my deities, I have to prepare this bhoga, I have no time. I mean, this person said this thing to me, but I have no time to think what all he was going through in his mind to say this to me, but I have to do my service. So like that, you fill up all your time in doing your service to Krishna, that you don't have time to become angry or take an offense to what others are saying. Right? When Krishna also said in Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sparshyastu Kante Sitoshna Sukha Dukada Gama Piyano Nityastam Sitakshishva Bharata. Like winter and summer season. The happiness and distress is like winter and summer season. Like we tolerate winter and summer season, we should tolerate happiness and distress. Right? We tolerate winter and summer season because two things. It is unavoidable. Even if we make a fuss about it, oh, how cold it is right now, or how hot it is right now, things are not in our control, right? It's in Krishna's control. So why make a fuss about it? And also, this verse says that it is temporary. It is temporary. This winter and summer season is temporary. Same thing, happiness and distress in our life is temporary. It will come and go. So if you remember these two things, then we can tolerate things that come in our life. We have to tolerate the miseries that come in our life in the same way as we tolerate winter and summer season. Another thing is that that will help us tolerate the misery of life is to know that we are in this material world as a prisoner, and we are serving our term here as a punishment for our previous sinful reactions. And anything that happens to us or anybody does anything to us, he's an instrument of our own karma. Right? That's this verse, Tatyanukampam Susamikshamano Bunjanaya Vatma Pritam Vipakam Redabag Vipurbi Vidadhan Namaste Jivita Yo Mukti Pade Sadaya Bhav. Right? While going through distress, the devotee remains ever grateful to Krishna. He offers his mind, body, and words, offering obeisances to Krishna, understanding that all the distress in his life or anything wrong that anybody has done to him is because of his own karma. I am to be blamed. And then if a devotee stays in this attitude of gratefulness to Krishna, thank you Krishna, that that's the attitude of a devotee, is that he thinks that much greater misery was to come to me, but Krishna is so merciful that he has minimized my suffering. So that in that way, devotee is always grateful to Krishna. So like that. And like Raghunath Maharaj was giving an example of a postman. Postman, he delivers the letters to us, right? Same thing, other people are like postmen, they deliver our karma to us. So if a postman comes to us and says that he gives us a letter, and we open the letter, and the letter says that you owe the government $1 million because you took a loan from the government and you have not repaid it, and if you don't pay the loan, we'll imprison you. Like that. There is the letter that this postman gives us. Now, after reading the letter, we'll not start beating, the postman or become upset at him or angry at him. He's just a postman. He delivered the letter to you. The mistake that you committed, the letter is giving you that information. In the same way, if somebody does something wrong to us, he's like that postman. We should not become angry at that postman. Ultimately, we should realize that our own karma is coming back to us. So in that way, we don't become upset. So Prabhupada said, don't become upset with the instrument of your karma. Right? And so if something misery happens in devotee's life, the devotee thinks that, oh, Krishna has minimized my misery, and he becomes grateful. And so if happiness, something good happens in devotee's life, he thinks that, oh, I did not deserve this. I was not qualified to get this, but Krishna is so merciful that he has given this to me anyways because I'm a devotee of him. So he gives credit to Krishna. He remains grateful to Krishna in any situation. In that way, he's able to tolerate happiness also. We need to tolerate distress as well as we need to tolerate happiness, because sometimes in happiness, we stop doing our sadhana. We become too relaxed and we get deviated. So, and our senses go out of control. We are too happy in a nice situation, right? So we need to tolerate happiness as well. And also devotees, they tolerate distress because they see Krishna's hand in that situation. Like Srila Prabhupada, he went through a lot of distress in his life. He had a business and he suffered a great loss in his business, that he didn't have money to pay to his employees, and he had to beg some money from his friends to even travel by bus, like it's mentioned. So he went through a lot of distress, but then Prabhupada said this verse, Yasyaham anugranami harishyat dhanam shnai tato dhanam tajante asya swajana dukha dukhitam. That he said that, oh, what I have gotten is a special mercy from Krishna, because if Krishna is specially merciful to someone, he will deprive of that person of his wealth, and his relatives will become opposed to him. He will be poverty stricken, and he will suffer one distress after another, like I did. But that's Krishna's special mercy. And that's what Prabhupada said, right? And it was a special mercy of Krishna, because if his business would not have failed, then Prabhupada would not have taken sannyas, and he will not be doing, he would not have come to US, maybe America, and then, started this ISKCON movement, because of which we are all in here. So it was for a greater benefit for him and for the whole of the world that, Krishna did this in his life. So a devotee always thinks that it is the Krishna's plan. Whatever I'm going through in my life, that somehow is Krishna's arrangement. Let me use this situation to my best advantage and get closer to Krishna. Take shelter of Krishna more, surrender to him more. Krishna is my well-wisher. Like, Krishna is like my father. Sometimes a father gives, very nice sweets to his son. And sometimes when the son is sick, the father gives him a bitter medicine, right? So all for the benefit of the son. So like that, devotee thinks that, Krishna has given this to me for my own purification. I am sick, I have so many anarthas. So Krishna has arranged this situation, or this, person said this to me, this person humiliated me in front of others. That's something, it's Krishna's plan for my own good, for my purification. So also, that's the last verse of Shikshashtakam, where Radharani, it's Radharani's mood that in whatever situation Krishna places me, I will take shelter of Krishna and will worship him unconditionally. Ashrishya vapadritam panishtuna adarshnan marmatam krutuva yatha tathava vidadatu lampato mat pranathas tusaiva naparam. Right? So also I was hearing that, tolerance doesn't mean that, if some tragedy happens in our life, we don't cry. We don't have emotional breakdown. We do, we're not like a dead stone. We do have emotions. You have to be, it means you have to be human, right? So tolerance means, you have emotions like a human being, but your spiritual life is not impacted. Your spiritual life is not disturbed. Your faith on Krishna is not shaken while going through that distress. Like, when Abhimanyu, he was killed on the battlefield, Arjuna was crying, right? Arjuna was crying, and he didn't question Krishna, that you are Supreme Lord and you were present there on the battlefield. You can do everything, but you didn't do anything to help my son. Same thing we were reading about Rukmini yesterday. So Rukmini, Rukmini's brother Rukmi, he was having, he's playing chess with Balramji in a marriage ceremony, and Rukmi is cheating. So Balramji gets very angry and he kills Rukmi right there in the marriage ceremony, and Krishna is personally present. But Rukmini does not say anything to Krishna. Why, Krishna, you didn't save my brother? And that too in the marriage ceremony of his daughter Balram killed. You didn't do anything. So Rukmini stayed quiet, and that won Krishna's heart. Krishna said that your silence has won my heart, because you have so much faith in me that, whatever Krishna is doing in my life is all good. Like, so a devotee never complains to Krishna. He never, asks Krishna for anything. He never demands anything, and he never complains to Krishna for anything, and that is called surrender. So further moving along, so sometimes the question is asked, should we go on tolerating even if somebody is very exploitative, he's taking advantage of us? Should we go on tolerating? So to answer to this question is that we have to choose our battles. We cannot set everything right in the world, otherwise we will not have time to perform our bhakti. We need to choose our battles. So there are always three choices in any situation in life. Either we tolerate the situation, that's one thing, or we do something to change the situation if we can. Or third thing is that we can walk away from that situation. And the choice that you would make in a particular situation, you can consult Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. You can consult other Vaishnavas and more experienced Vaishnavas how to deal with such a situation. Like, Prabhupada in the beginning days of ISKCON, he tolerated the hippies. He used to give his class lectures in Bhagavad Gita, and all these hippies, they would come completely drunk, taking all kind of drugs, and Prabhupada would cook a huge feast, for them, and he would do kirtan, he will give a lecture, he would do everything, and these hippies, they would take prasadam, and they would leave their dirty plates behind, and Srila Prabhupada would then clean the plates, and until one day, somebody asked Prabhupada, can I help you? And Prabhupada, he had tears in his eyes, and he said, I thought no one would ever ask. And one person ran after Prabhupada with a knife. He was staying with a person, and Prabhupada, he had to run at middle of the night because this person, he was under drugs, and he ran after Prabhupada with a knife. So many things that Prabhupada had to tolerate. Although he was seeing so many faults in these early devotees, he was focusing his attention on the little spark of potential in them, and he fanned that spark, and that touched the hearts of these Americans, and they took up to Krishna consciousness, seeing the compassion in the heart of Prabhupada, how he's tolerating them, still he's continuing to serve them. But on the other hand, we see that Srila Prabhupada, he did not tolerate Mr. N fighting for the ISKCON Juhu property, where Mr. N, he was trying to cheat the devotees and to get back his that the Juhu land. So he was trying to cheat Srila Prabhupada, and so Prabhupada, he did not tolerate that in that instance. So personally, if somebody does something wrong to us, for the personal offense, we should tolerate. But if somebody is doing wrong to other Vaishnavas or doing wrong to Krishna, and we should not tolerate that. That's the kind of a rule. We should tolerate any offenses towards us, but not to others. So like that, we can choose our battles. We cannot fight on every single wrong that others have done. So also, if we like to be forgiven by Krishna, we should forgive others, because we all make mistakes. We are conditioned souls. We have those 4 defects in us. We make mistakes, and we have to go to Krishna and beg for forgiveness, and we want Krishna to forgive us. So if we want Krishna to forgive us, we should also have this quality of forgiving others. Krishna, he forgives us, like he says, api chet suduracharo bhajante mamananya sadhureva samantavya samyak vivasatu isa, right? He says that even if one commits a most abominable action, if he is a devotee of mine, he's considered to be saintly and he's properly situated, right? I'll forgive him, like he says. So sometimes accidentally some bad thing happens, even by a great person, and Krishna forgives that. But of course, in that purport, Prabhupada writes that one should not take advantage of this verse and should not commit repeated mistakes, right? If he commits the same mistake again and again, then he's not a high devotee. That's what Prabhupada says, right? So also, when somebody does something wrong to us, we should look at the track record of the person. Is this the first offense that this person is doing, or there's a history of this person doing this thing multiple times? So sometimes accidentally someone may do something wrong, but if that person, he has a clean track record, we should give a concession, we should give benefit of doubt. For example, in this case of Parikshit Maharaj, he had spotless character. He was such a great devotee and Rajarshi, and everybody was so pleased in his life. He never did anything wrong. But first time, putting dead snake around the neck of Shamik Rishi, he did this mistake, but that was the first time he is doing this mistake, and it was not even a life-threatening mistake, but the curse that was given in response to that was huge, right? So we should see that if this, we should give the benefit of doubt. Okay, sometimes a mistake happens by even great persons, even for great Vaishnavas. It is mentioned Vaishnavera kriya mudra vignena bujai, that we cannot understand the mind or the activities of Vaishnava. So for this verse, there is a pastime in Chaitanya Bhagavat in Ante Leela, where a person is coming to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he's bewildered seeing Nityananda Prabhu. He's saying that Nityananda Prabhu is supposed to be a sannyasi, but he's wearing all these jewels, gold, silver, and ornaments, and he's wearing fine silk cloth, and he carries an iron rod instead of a sannyasi danda, and he eats in the house of the Shudras, and sometimes he goes to a girl and says, "Will you marry me?" And sometimes he goes to a liquor shop like that. So this person is bewildered seeing the activities of Nityananda Prabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in response to this question, to this person, he told the story of the 6 sons of Marichi. And the 6 sons of Marichi, they were perfected beings. They were grandsons of Brahma. And these sons of Marichi, they saw that when Brahma, who's such an elevated person, one time he got bewildered. He wanted to enjoy with his own daughter, right? So these 6 persons, these 6 sons of Marichi, they laughed at Brahma. And because of ridiculing the activities of such an exalted person, they were forced to take birth in a family of demons. So they became the next birth, they became the sons of Kalanini. And Hiranyakashipu, in that birth, he also cursed them, these 6 sons of Kalanemi, that they will be killed by their own father. So in the next birth then, Kalanemi, who had come as Kansa, these 6 sons of Kalanemi, they became the 6 sons of Devaki, and Kansa killed them with his own hands. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, that they had to go through so much suffering just because of laughing at Brahma for something he was apparently that he did something wrong. He might have done something wrong, but it was not, it was not good for the 6 sons of Marichi to judge Brahma or to offend him by laughing at him. Still, Brahma is a great devotee. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us that we should not judge others. We should not offend a devotee even if he is apparently doing something wrong. Certainly there are those in the leadership position who should take actions and speak to the person who is doing wrong, but also they should follow the austerity of speech, like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyam hitam cha swadhya abhasanam cheva vanmayam tapochyate. Right? There is austerity of speech where we should speak words that are truthful and pleasing and beneficial to others and not agitating to others, and also we should always speak from Shastra. So following this austerity of speech, if we are in a position of leadership, we can affectionately try to talk with the person not in an agitating tone, so that this person learns, so that he doesn't repeat the mistake again. But those who are not in the leadership position, they should not take the matters in their own hands. Like in this case, we see Shringi, he was inexperienced. He was a child. He should not have taken the matters in his own hands. He should have let his father respond, to Parikshit Maharaj. So like that's another lesson to be learned. And Vraj Bihari Prabhu, he was in one of his classes, he was saying that even if somebody does something wrong to us, that is our perception. It is also our perception, because our mind can tell us anything. We are conditioned soul, and our mind can also go wrong. We should go through a thought process. If we are seeing a fault in others, we should. He gave a 9-step thought process that we can always go through if we feel hurt by somebody's action or somebody's words to us. So first thing he said, that we should think that person is also right. We always think that we are right. We are always right. But first thing, we should also think that person is also right, can also be right, because there are multiple perspectives to a situation. For example, he said, number 9, if we view it in a different, way, it appears 6. So, even in Shastras, different acharyas are giving different interpretation of the verses. We have different commentaries from different acharyas. So, he might have a different perspective, but that perspective may also be correct. So that's the first thing, to think that that person may also be right. So the second thing is that we can think that, oh, he may not know what is right. So for example, if some person who's not into Krishna consciousness for a long time, he's new, he does not know, has not read all the shastras, or he does not know the proper etiquette of working with others. So we should give the benefit of doubt. Here ISKCON is a hospital, everybody is diseased, somebody has a bigger disease than the others, but we are all trying to get better, right? So we should give the benefit of doubt. So this person, as he progresses in Krishna consciousness, he will get better. So let me just tolerate him at this point. So then the third thing he says was, somebody does something, says, or we get hurt by someone, we should think that his intention was right. He did this to me, or he said this to me, but he has a good heart, his intention was right, but he may have spoken it in a wrong way. So misunderstanding happens. So like that. So we should think like that. We should give the benefit of doubt. And the fourth thing he said was that I don't know what is right. Then maybe truthfully speaking, honestly speaking, if we introspect, sometimes we are wrong, right? We try to we try to cover it up, right? But sometimes, honestly, if we think that we would also see that sometimes we are wrong too. So accept your mistakes, right? And the fifth thing he said was, end result would be right. Krishna will set everything right. I don't need to take the matters in my own hand, or do an action against that person, do tit for tat like Shringi did. Krishna will set everything right. Krishna is seeing everything what happened, and he will set everything right. I don't need to pick up a quarrel with that person or say something back in return to what he said, right? So the sixth thing then he says, what something else is right. What that means is that, okay, this person did this to me, but I see that this person had these other good qualities. So that's like seeing the good qualities in others. So this person, okay, he did this wrong to me, but in the past he has done this good to me. So always remember that what this person has done, good to us. So we never forget. Always remain grateful to that person for any small, nice thing that he has done in the past. Or so we remember that, even if we are something wrong he did to us in the present situation. Then the seventh thing Hare Prabhu is saying is that we pray for the right. We pray to Krishna to help this person. So instead of cursing the person, so if this person did this wrong to me, I curse him that this happens to him, right? That the cursing, what it does is that it destroys our sukriti that we have gained through our bhakti. When we curse others, when we have bad, ill feelings for others, then we destroy our own sukriti. So we should not do that. Instead, we should pray to Krishna. Oh, Krishna, please make this person, give this person some insight of how he can remove his anarthas. May this person become a pure devotee. May he get all good qualities so that he doesn't hurt others. Like that. So in that way, we make our prayer to be a positive prayer. And Krishna sees that, and he will also bless us with this, All these situations that come in our life is also a test from Krishna, how we respond to those situations. So if Krishna sees that instead of cursing the other person, we are blessing the other person, then, Krishna will also elevate us in our bhakti. And the eighth thing Hare Prabhu was saying was that we should write the right, meaning that we should do, some devotees have a habit to write a journal, to get their thoughts out of their mind so that they don't, become angry at others. So they write in the journal and they think how a pure devotee would react in that situation. That we should think that if I was a pure devotee, if I was like Haridas Thakur, if somebody was trying to kill me, still I was praying for that person, please Krishna forgive them for they don't know what they're doing. If I was like him, or if I was like Srila Prabhupada, what I would do in this situation. Of course I'm not at that level, but I should like all these situations, all these Bhagavatam we are reading, all the pastimes we are reading, and we see, how pure devotees respond to a situation. Now is the time for me to implement what I have been hearing all this time from Bhagavatam. Let me respond like how a pure devotee would respond. Right? So that's a situation where we can implement what we have been hearing. So in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes that one's greatness is estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situation. And provoking situations are a time to practice what we are learning. And Mahatma Das Prabhu says that path to dash is paved by the practice of dash. So you can fill anything in that dash, right? Path to tolerance is paved by the practice of tolerance, right? So we can practice being tolerant. Or path to humility is paved by the practice of humility. We can practice being humble so that one day we'll become humble. Path to chanting is paved by the practice of chanting. We are trying to chant nicely so that one day we'll chant like a pure devotee. So like that we can practice being humble, practice being tolerant. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself, when he came in the form of a devotee, he's telling us how to practice, he's showing us by examples how to practice humility and tolerance. Like one time, Ramachandra Puri is a pastime where Ramachandra Puri is a god brother of Ishvara Puri. And so for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he considered Ramachandra Puri as his guru only. But this Ramachandra Puri had a bad habit of finding faults in others, and he would, feed the devotees very much, and then he would say that, oh, you are eating too much, and as in a sannyas order, renounced order, you should not eat like that. So he would, he would try to find fault in others in such a way that he would find fault in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. So he would say to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he saw one time ants in the room of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he said, you are eating a lot of sweets. He found faults in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, instead of speaking back to him, he cut down his eating by half. So whatever he was eating, he cut down it by half. And then Ramachandra Puri, he again criticized Mahaprabhu that this is markat vairagya. Whatever you are doing is markat vairagya. You're just showing yourself renounced. Why you cut yourself to eating to half? You should yuktahara virhara, say you should eat properly. So like that, he was trying to find faults with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very peaceful. He never responded anything wrong, anything in a bad way to Ramachandra Puri, telling us, how a devotee should remain humble. Even if elevated devotee is saying something wrong to us, which is obviously wrong, still you should tolerate, because it's good to become humble. And this devotee is trying to make me humble. This devotee is my friend. So if we are surrounded by our friends who always praise us, we'll become proud. But if we are surrounded by those who find faults in us, they make us humble. So actually those people are our friends because they are making us humble. And humility is a quality that will help us attain Krishna. Also in the example of, I'll stop in a few minutes, in the example of King Prataprudra. One time King Prataprudra was with his servant Harichandan, and they were seeing the Jagannath Rath Yatra, and Srivas Thakur was standing right in front of King Prataprudra. So this servant of King Prataprudra, this Harichandan, he touched Srivas Thakur to ask him to get aside. But Srivas Thakur was so absorbed in seeing Jagannath, Rath Yatra, that he didn't move. And so this Harichandan, he was again and again touching and pushing him. So he became very angry, Srivas Thakur, and he gave a slap to Harichandan. And this Harichandan, he became very angry and he wanted to speak something back to Srivas Thakur and, hit him. But King Prataprudra, he stopped him. He said that, King Prataprudra said that he's very nice. He said that, oh, Harichandan, you are very fortunate that you have been graced by the touch of Srivas Thakur. I am not so fortunate. You should feel obliged to him. That you are so fortunate that you have been touched by a pure devotee, he says. So this incident, it shows King Prataprudра's humility and also pridelessness, manashunyata, absence of false prestige. So we can learn that, even chastisement from a devotee is also mercy. When we receive feedback or we receive chastisement from a devotee, we should not be resentful. We should not become in a defensive mood and try to defend ourselves, right? But we should humbly accept it as a mercy from that devotee, and make improvements in our life. And take it as a favor. This devotee is so merciful that he's speaking. He's not. Sometimes we are very afraid of committing an offense, and so we don't tell a devotee what wrong he's doing. But so if somebody devotee is telling us very nicely that Prabhuji or Mataji, you're doing this wrong, so we should accept that as a great favor from that devotee. So in this pastime, as we were reading, we see that Parikshit Maharaj putting a dead snake around Shamik Rishi. After putting a dead snake, when he's going back, he's feeling repentance of the act that he performed. So Prabhupada says that repentance comes in the mind of a good soul, and so he repents for his mistakes. And so that he learns from his mistakes. So Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, this is the last point here. Gauranga Darshan Prabhu was saying that whatever mistakes we have committed, we should first realize our mistake. We should be honest with ourselves. We should realize our mistake. We should admit our mistake. We should apologize for what we have done to others. We should beg for forgiveness. That is how we rectify our mistake. And we should not repeat it. And we should remember our mistakes, because remembering our mistakes will always keep us humble. And then we should also reform. We should do some reformation. Reformation means some atonement for our mistake, like fasting or chanting more rounds or doing service to the Vaishnava. Because if we don't reform ourselves, we'll commit the same mistake again. Indra, when he was, when he did he offended Krishna and the Brajvasis through the Govardhan Leela, he offered a lot of prayers to Krishna in repentance, but he never did any atonement. So that's, next time when Krishna, he came to Swarglok to get Parijata tree for Satyabhama, Indra stopped Krishna. Although he knew that Krishna is Supreme Lord, he stopped Krishna and started to have a fight with Krishna, which means that Indra never learned his lesson. Going through, even saying the prayers of repentance, he never learned his lesson, the offense that he had committed. But Brahmaji, on the other hand, when Brahmaji, he got bewildered with the Brahma Vimohan Leela and he offered his prayers of repentance. But also when he went back, it's mentioned that he went to Antardweep and he did a lot of austerities, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he blessed Brahma, and Brahma asked for a boon that he takes a very humble position in his next birth, and so he does not ever get proud. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him a benediction that he would become Haridas Thakur, which would be born in a lower Malicha family, and in a very humble mood he would serve Krishna. So like that, in this case, Brahmaji, he went through the process of atonement. He was doing a lot of austerities and chanting Harinam and praying to Krishna to remove his anartha so that he would never repeat his mistake. So like that, whenever we commit a mistake, we should remember our mistake. Also, we should do atonement so that we never commit the same mistake again. So with that, I'll stop here. And if you have any comments or points that you would like to reflect upon, you can please share your thoughts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. What a great class. Anybody on the call have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This comment and not really a question. Very, very nice and very valid points, Mataji, that you mentioned, and very relevant to current days in our life, especially for me as well. The last piece that you mentioned about atonement. Before that I was having the question that we commit a mistake and then we know about it, but it happens again. So why is that? That was my question, but you answered it at the very end. And lot of takeaways in our day-to-day life, just fall in terms of becoming on our path to becoming a pure devotee. I realize that I'm so much far away from what state we need to be, but again, it's a work in progress. So every time, we should associate with, Vaishnavas, and, try to hear, because they speak for our benefit, like just you did today. So really grateful to you, Mataji, for taking time and enlightening us with so much information and knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, this preparation for the lecture actually helps us to contemplate on the matter. We are more absorbed in understanding this and how we can implement in our life. So this process of creating this lecture and all this also purification for us. That's I'm far away from being tolerant or humble. There's so many anarthas in myself, but hopefully doing the service to Vaishnavas, getting their blessings, doing the service, that should be the mode.
Right. Just something I want to add my own experience. These days, I do know that, if I say something like this is going to happen. But the forces are so strong. No matter how much hard I'm trying to stop myself, it happens in the moment. And again, I realize it now. When you say, because you're not doing any atonement for it. You just you understand, and then you try to beg forgiveness, but again there is no atonement. So these keep happening again and again.
Yes, we need to pray to Krishna while we are chanting that let me not commit that same mistake again. That is called spiritual strength that Balramji gives, right? When the time is there, provoking situation, that we will just go out of control and everything, and will not have the strength to pull us, do the right thing. So we should pray to Balramji, and we were hearing while chanting, we can pray to Krishna that please remove those anarthas in me so I don't commit the same mistake again.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Can you able to hear me?
Yes. Please.
Okay. Thank you for the class, Mataji. Yes, I agree with the generous rule. There are so many takeaway points that I like the point that you mentioned that how a true Vaishnava should be like that, like very tolerant and everything considered as responsible for our reactions and actions and reactions, and very tolerant, that we accept it, what we have done, and whatever the reactions comes through this. So just be patiently tolerant and just and focus on the big things, your goal, not the small things. It's like that, small things doesn't make any difference if you have big things to achieve in the life. And I have some thing, what I by reading this purport, I realized that. So in these all purports, there are three characters, right? Shringi, Shamik Rishi, and Parikshit Maharaj, and how they are they act in the situation. Parikshit Maharaj was acting as like a true Vaishnava. He repented, he regretted what he had done, and also it's just a very insignificant crime, I would say, because it says that, right, in our Vedic culture, it says that when you go to someone's house, there are three things should be done. You offer something, a place to sit, you speak some soft words, and you offer something to eat or drink. And when he approached the Shamik Rishi, he was in trance, and he didn't offer all these, any one of them. And of course, it was an arrangement by the Lord. So he put the dead snake in as a garland of Shamik Rishi. And Shamik Rishi, he was very great devotee. He was experienced devotee. And Shringi, even you have said that, when anything comes up to own self, like if anyone does any word or hard word, anything to me, then I have to be tolerant. But the same thing, if we done with the other Vaishnavas or Krishna, we should not be tolerant. So this point comes in as a question in mind, that because Shringi was upset because his father was, according to him, his father was offended, right? Shamak Rishi was offended and he heard. So I was thinking, because Shringi was without knowing, even in our life also, without knowing that does that Vaishnava got offended, or without knowing anything, we just quickly judge the people. And that's what Shringi did. He became so harsh. He became so harsh that towards Parikshit Maharaj, and that's why I think in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that he is inexperienced. That word, because if Vaishnava and if a devotee is experienced, then he could able to see that and not taking as an offense, and he was offended. But he think that my father is offended and he has taken the responsibility for that without knowing that what his father wants and what does his father actually offended by this action or not. So he became so harsh and skeptical. He forgot what the good, all the good qualities what Parikshit Maharaj had done for the whole society, right? He is a very religious king. He is very pious king, and he's not even giving chance to explain his part to Parikshit Maharaj that why, and he is overpowered with the emotions, and then he could not able to distinguish the differentiate between with the intelligence that what we right to do and what not right to do, and he just quickly judged. And this in our life also, it's like I take away that in our life also we judge the people quickly without knowing the background. You have also mentioned that we don't know, we don't check the background of that person, that he has a habit of making that mistake or it happened, because we all are the four defects of the human life is one of that, the making mistake also. So we take it as like because it happens, we are not perfect, we are imperfect. So here Shringi is not giving that. And of course, and when we are inexperienced, even in our sadhana also, we are not perfect. I'm talking about myself, that I'm not perfect. So I have to spend time to make ourselves to determine in the sadhana and to understand, because being a Brahmana, Shringi was a Brahmana, right? And but he exhibited the qualities, like there is a 16th chapter in Bhagavad Gita. It says that Dambho Darpo Vimanascha Krodha Parushamevacha Ajnana Chavijatasya Partha Sampadam Ashurya. So he showed pride also. He showed like anger, harshness, because in all these things we don't able to think about the we don't able to discriminate, right? So it's like that, being a Brahmana, he has to develop the Brahminical qualities, but although he's exhibiting the demonic qualities, like and even we all have this demonic qualities in this Kali Yuga. So so that's like, I was thinking, even I was reminding that, but the first canto says that Ashwathama, when he fled when he killed the Draupadi's 5 sons, and then Arjuna wanted to kill him, and he goes there, he fled, he was in fearful of his life, and he saw the Arjuna on the chariot with Krishna, and he released the Brahmastra, and he doesn't know that how to counteract that. So he was also like a Brahmana, but it's not depend that you are by birth decided by the Brahmana. You have to exhibit the qualities of the Brahmana, then you will consider as a Brahmana, like tolerant and all this. So yeah, this is I was thinking that that's it. And on the other side, Parikshit Maharaj was showing a true characteristic of a devotee, right? He regretted that what he had done, and he accepted everything what comes in his way. Shringi has given of course it was a very big punishment for an insignificant crime, and but he accepted with gracefully that okay, I have to accept this. Even he is going to die in 7 days. But yeah, so yes, thank you so much, Mataji, for giving this beautiful lecture.
Thank you, Preeti, for all your comments.
Jai. Preeti Mataji basically just covered the future class, which is the set of verses from 46 to 50, which are basically the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj, how he took up, how he reacted in this situation, and how he displays that he has the qualities of a devotee. And yeah, I was also thinking of these couple of points, and one of them Preeti Mataji already mentioned, that how we are conditioned souls and we have these 4 defects, and one of them is committing offenses, committing what is the
Committing
mistakes, yes, committing mistakes. And it's because of our, it's not the problem as the jivas, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. So if Krishna is perfect, so are we, but it's just that we are covered under this material influence, and that's why we sometimes display these non-Vaishnava like qualities. Not sometimes, pretty much all the time. But yes, just by the association of pure devotees. And Prabhupada said, I found a few quotes from Prabhupada, that how to develop those qualities. And in essence, the 2 most prominent ways are to associate with Krishna directly, and to associate with pure devotees who are also representative of Krishna, and they have those qualities. They both have the qualities. So when you connect yourself, it's like a charger. You plug it in, only then it charges. You cannot just place the phone near the charger and not expect. You take their association, and you should be so greedy. The moment of service comes, we should grab that opportunity. So only then we are taking the benefit of this rare opportunity of coming in Krishna consciousness, and having this seriousness and sincerity. So, and yeah, of course all of this will be there, so I don't want to take much away from the future speakers, who is Ranchor Prabhu. So stay tuned. Next Saturday the rest of the verses will be covered, and that will be the end of 18th chapter of the first canto, and we are going to move on to the last chapter of this first canto. So we are very close to finish up this first canto, which was so sweet, so nice, and so instructive. So thank you, Mataji, again. I know we are over time, but any last burning questions? If not, should we stop?
Yeah, thank you, Alankar Prabhu. Your service is very inspiring, because you're continuing the Saturday Shravanam program. Even if nobody joins, you join and you lead. Yes, it's very inspiring to see you so consistent and dedicated to the service. So we are learning from you.
Okay, thank you. You are inspiring. All the devotees are very inspiring, keeping me on my toes all the time. So thank you, Mataji. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.